We can break out!
From Indianapolis, Indiana, scene of the world's greatest racing, Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
The Indianapolis 500, the greatest spectacle in racing. An American tradition with a century of pursuits. 33 cars running wide open at over 200 miles an hour. A 500-mile chase toward racing immortality. Time trials at Indianapolis have placed 24 cars in the field through yesterday's 2 stages of qualifying. It was an afternoon of drama. The highest of highs and lowest of lows.
Somehow I wish we would just be over with now.
Plain bad luck for one team or pushing the envelope a little too hard. A few Indy favorites were left on the outside looking in for the evening pole shootout. Today, the final 9 positions will be filled. Then drivers must bump their way into the 500 field, where the fastest 33 cars will make the race. It's bump day at the Brickyard.
Let's go, baby! We're gonna run wide open today, come on!
Another day of highs and lows. Things can't get much lower for sentiment of favorite Tony Kanaan. This is not a replay of yesterday. At 9:20 this morning, shortly after the track opened for practice, Kanaan in trouble again in the same area of the racetrack in his backup car. Listen at the impact. He makes contact with the safer barrier twice and does extensive damage to the backup car. Yesterday at 112, this is what happened. He slid all the way to the second turn before making contact, but again, heavy damage to that car. We'll sync up and watch Danica Patrick on the right. His teammate, she's had trouble getting up to speed, and Ziggy Harka saying, just like yesterday. Tony Kanaan is okay, but an incredible chain of events at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And so we welcome you to Bump Day, the final day to get into the Indianapolis 500. The driver prior to yesterday, when the track opened for first day qualifying, who was 6th fastest, has crashed 2 cars in 2 days.
Incredible. Think about Tony Kanaan, where he is mentally right now. Here's a guy that thought he was going to be in the top 9. He's not. Okay, we'll get in the top 24. Crash, that didn't happen. No big deal. Come back today, bump day, get in my backup car, and I go in the wall. So he's going to a place in his gut that he hasn't been and didn't want to go to.
And Robbie, of course, consider that on that 5-car Andretti Autosport team, he is considered the anchor, the team leader. And yesterday we saw that Danica Patrick had that confident shaking run, and she's all shaky when she got out. Today should be a day of restoring confidence, but instead they now have Kanaan on the outside, John Andretti on the outside, and they have to try to somehow pull this thing together.
A.J. Foyt IV has not been comfortable in the 41. He was bumped out of the top 24 and has decided not to compete in this year's Indianapolis 500. So Jacques Lazier has been called in to replace A.J. Foyt IV in the ABC Supply 41.
Sebastian Savadra is in the 223.6 and 7 mile an hour range.
And I think this is good for him.
Yeah?
I think that he has been able to hang on to some speed. That first lap was a little bit dicey, but he has sped up, and that's a great effort, Jack.
And the reason why is what their crew did last night is they showed them the traces of the pole sitter Helio Castroneves and the traces of Dario Franchitti. They said, look at the way those 2 drivers exit the turn. That's exactly what Savadra tried to replicate during his qualifying effort. By the way, they also knew that Savadra probably heard through the grapevine that standing by outside of his garage is Oriol Servia, should Savadra not get the car up to speed.
4-lap average for Savadra, 223.634, and now he is the slowest qualifier in the field.
And there's Sarah Fisher as a team owner driver. She's in the field pretty solid, that 224. What a big smile of relief we saw in her. And PT, he's not too happy with that 223.8, but he's definitely in there. I think he'll be okay for the KB team.
And the 11th rower now is Jay Howard, Mario Romancini, and Sebastian Savadra. Savadra, the slowest car in the field at 223.634 miles an hour. The emotions of bump day at Indianapolis. Tony Kanaan crashed the car yesterday. He crashed the car today. They have repaired the car he crashed today. Back at Indianapolis, where bump day is beginning to get to Tony Kanaan.
We don't really have to comment too much on that. That tells it all, doesn't it? Man.
Tony has crashed the last 2 days. The field is full for the 500-mile race, and he is not in it. He was out for practice, turned a lap at over 2:23, but has the car now back in the pit area, and they're working on it and making some adjustments.
They're going to the rear wing, which has certainly been a theme. And you heard his teammate, if you were at the coverage yesterday, Marco Andretti, saying the things we have to do to these cars running these crazy wing angles. And again, he's referring to what Jack had given us a great explanation of earlier, is tip that thing back to make it go faster. But when you do, it gets unsettled.
Yeah, and it obviously already has been unsettled and not feeling very good. So to stand there and thinking right now that they're trimming it back more, or maybe not, maybe they're trying to get more downforce in it, we don't know. But if it is going the other way, you can't be like, oh boy, I'm excited to get back in that race car, because you wouldn't be.
I asked Kyle Moyer, who's normally in Marco Andretti's ear, what was happening with Tony when he went that last run. I said, is he just not finding the speed, or is he not comfortable at speed? And he said he's just not comfortable yet. So they may not be laying that wing flat. He might not be able to go flat out. Give him a little more wing, might feel a little more comfortable. You can see Tony Kanaan is not a happy man, and the crew, all the crews for Andretti Autosport, are trying to make this car as fast as they possibly can.
TK is back in the cockpit. And now there are less than 3 hours to go before the track will close for this second day of qualification. So a lot on TK's mind. Will he make it into this year's 500 field? You guys saw something, didn't you?
We sure did. When we were talking to Mike Hull there in the 2 box there, we saw his rear end just get a little loose off of one. Both Jan and I looked at each other. We know he dumped the throttle, and here he is back in here. So look at that. Look at the hand going up, shaking. I can't put it in words and describe to you guys what he's got to be going through right now.
And you heard Kyle Moyer talk about caster. And maybe the easiest way to describe what caster is like a shopping cart where the wheels wiggle around everywhere. That's zero caster. That's where it doesn't track. And as soon as you lean the top of that, where it rotates, as you lean that back, that's more and more caster. In other words, the wheels tend to stay straight, but it takes more steering effort to get it into the corner itself.
Jay Howard, Mario Romancini, and Sebastian Savadra, all rookies.
And it would be fair to say, when you look at those times on the last row, that they will all be nervous. If it cools off, they'll be vulnerable.
TK definitely hopes the temperatures come to him a little bit later. We saw him get a little loose when he went out, and remember, he's trying to heavy up that steering wheel, get a little more feel into the car. But
I can tell you it's wrong.
Yeah,
He just got a wiggle, big wiggle on the other end of the circuit and had to lift. That is not the direction that you want to go. In fact, the steering wheel just flopped out of there immediately.
He wants to get out of there and clear his head. You got to do that. This wasn't just a subtle wiggle. Watch this. Man.
In slow motion, it looks subtle, but at speed,
it is.
You have to remember that wiggle led to 2 big kablamos in the last 2 days for him, and that one he happened to catch.
Now, you've had the kablamos, and you know that the car is not right, but what does this do to your head? Do you start questioning yourself?
It is right now. It's already in his head with what's happened. I mean, maybe a good approach right now is to have Marco get in that car, or Ryan Hunter-Reay maybe get them in the car and just go shake it down and say, hey, Tony, I think that's okay.
Well, I beg to disagree with you in that I don't think it's in Tony's head. What he's upset about is the car's just flat not working. He's coming in saying, hey, I'm just tootling 2, 3, and 4, and the thing's trying to swap ends on me. You guys got to fix this thing.
Yeah, at this point, I mean, it's just tough.
They have have lowered the garage door back in Gasoline Alley at Tony Kanaan's spot. They are just thrashing and trying to figure out what in the world is going on. It is time to go qualifying again at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and Jacques Lazier will try to bump his way into the starting lineup. There is the man who is on the bubble at the moment. I say man, he's 19 years of age. It's Sebastian Savadra. His speed is 223.634. That's what Lazier will have to better in order to get into the field. The green flag comes out. Paul Blevin up in the starter stand waves the green flag, and Jacques Lazier is on his 10-mile run.
There's the tough one. Turn 1, he's through there. Off turn 2. Think about this. Jacques Lazier drove to the racetrack this morning to come in here, not thinking he was getting in a race car.
Probably had no idea that he would be doing this. Yeah.
That he was getting in a car today.
Turned into turn 1 at 225, which is significantly less than we have seen. But there are two ways to go around this racetrack. One is to really fly on the straightaway. The other is to maintain speed through the corners, which looks like their approach.
First lap, 222.857. That's not good enough.
Nope.
This car will have 3 attempts today.
And again, we saw that he did, a really fast lap earlier with that 225 range, but that was getting a tow to help that out. But the track's still pretty warm. We got 2 hours. We heard from Jimmy Vassar saying, hey, we're not really going to get back out here with Takuma until about 4 o'clock, just getting a bounce back on the car, and probably try qualifying around 5:30 when track conditions are even a little cooler.
It's actually a little slower.
Yes, 222.695. So this is not what Jacques and AJ are looking for.
We know where we stand right now for these conditions. Let's go back. We'll be ready as the track gets cooler, and we just got a report from Jack Pryor this saying this is the hottest the track's been all week at 130 degrees.
All right, they have aborted the run, so Savadra is safe right now, Robbie.
Have AJ Foyt, who's hopping in the car. AJ, were you tricked a little bit by maybe getting a tow earlier on the speeds he had?
We knew what we were doing. We just want to take one shot at it, that's all.
Just one shot. All right, guys, he's heading back, and I'm sure we'll see him again.
Yeah, there will be 2 more shots for that car if needed. Jacques Lazier right now is not fast enough to get into this year's 500 field.
One guaranteed way of doing a qualifying simulation with no other cars on the racetrack to get a read. Yeah, you're always looking, when there's people out there doing full tank testing, you don't get that opportunity. So, hey, we have 3 attempts. We'll present it and find out what we have.
We understand Takuma Sato is on the racetrack for some practice. He has been in the field, but was bumped out a few hours ago, actually, trying to find some speed that will get him back in.
And he just crossed the line just as he backed off. 225.4 for the second fastest lap of the day. So
just hop out of the car, went right on top of the box, and you talked to Milka. What did you have to say?
Yeah, I mean, we just really just wanted to put me in the car just to double check everything, make sure everything was as it was for me. Same setup and everything. I found there was a little bit of play in the wheel, which can give the car a very uncomfortable feeling as you're kind of bringing it to the right, then turning it in. If you get a dead spot, it can feel very uncomfortable. So we worked on that, just getting the steering to feel right, making sure that we had no play in it. A couple of other little things. We put a set of my tires on it and ran just a couple of laps with pretty high downforce, and the car felt as we'd expected it to do. Felt okay, felt fine. And then we don't, because it's my tires that have to come with me as a driver, we don't have any more tires to play with, and we've got to get Milka in the car. So I just basically came out and said, okay, with that downforce on, it feels good. Milka's ready to go. Yeah, we can get this car in the show, so still got a little bit of time. We'll get Milka back in the car, get comfortable, and we'll go put it in the show.
Indianapolis, Indiana. Milka Duno has had her car on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in the past few minutes by her teammate Alex Lloyd, trying to dial it in for qualifying. The 7-Eleven car of Tony Kanaan is back on pit lane. struggling to get this car to the point of making the field for the 500-mile race. A crash yesterday in qualifying, a crash earlier today in practice. The field is full. Tony Kanaan, a veteran of this racetrack, and this race is not yet in the field.
You still have to creep up on the car. They closed the garage. They went back there because they obviously are making a change, and one would assume a significant change. You don't want to be crazy about it. You have to go out there and lean on it, and as soon as the car talks back to you saying, okay, I'm with you, then clear your mind and say, okay, let's stand on it and see what it's got.
And when the car does start talking to you, it doesn't mean all of a sudden, okay, it's starting to talk to him, we can trim it back out and get to back around. No, you still got to just continue along with those steps. Is there enough time? You know, once he does gain that confidence, is the car going to be fast enough at that point, and then to go faster, are we going to be up against the 6 o'clock hour by the time that happens?
Jacques Lazier is also out there getting some speed up for the race, and a few minutes ago he got up and almost white-walled it, got up into the gray and kicked up some dust.
Yeah.
That's okay.
But he's just, all he's doing, he's just showing AJ that he's driving hard.
Yeah,
that's
okay.
all.
Yeah.
He knew exactly what he's doing.
Look at this. I'll kick up a little dust.
Wow, that's about as close as you can come, isn't it?
Manhandling those race cars.
Now, of course, what happened there was Marco Andretti was ahead of him. As someone who would be on a race setup, there's some aerodynamic wash off the car, and you're following in a qualifying setup. So, yes, the car will run up to the wall because it's not designed to be running behind other cars. It's all about qualifying.
Yep. Last year's average was 222.481. The last time the average was faster than 203 was in 2003, rather, at 227.145. As it stands right now, and it can only get faster, of course, this is the 5th fastest field average in history. TK slides into the cockpit once again.
Look at those temperatures, 91 degrees ambient, Bob.
There's a new twist in this weather, guys. You see that 5-mile-an-hour wind gust that we're getting? We didn't have significant wind, at least of that magnitude, last week. For Tony Kanaan, he's got to dial that out of his head as well, because when he comes down this front straightaway, that windsock is going to be stretched out, and it's going to be pointing right at him.
On the bubble, Sebastian Savadra at 223.634. Yet to qualify, 4 drivers trying to get in. Tony Kanaan, Takuma Sato, Jacques Lazier, and Milka Duno. Will they get it done? We've got another hour and 18 minutes to make the decision.
Remember, it was twice that he crashed was on his second hot lap, which is what he would be starting now. So his turn into turn number 1, assuming he's on the same sort of warm-up program, was where he's run into trouble.
221.21.
And as we said, he's not going to just jump up and see a 223.24. He's just kind of got to ease up to it, get confidence in the race car, know that that race car's talking back to him. He's getting the sense and feel with the front of that car leading that he likes, and it says to him, challenge me, drive me hard into the corner as you roll down in.
So TK is also going to come in. His fast lap during that segment was 221.56. The clock continues to count down. We have an hour and 13 minutes left to go on bump day. Then we will have the Freedom 100, for the Firestone Indy Lights, and then the pit stop competition, and Sebastian Savadra has crashed.
Oh, boy. Brian Herta's group there, team owner. There he is.
They needed to go out to get a read on the car in case they got bumped. They don't have another car, and he's on the bubble.
And even if you had another car, there's no way you could prep it and turn it around and get it back out to defend this.
And so you have to run to see what you have in case you're bumped. And now if you are, you've got nothing to fight back with.
Well, there's the safer barrier that he hit. This is the 19-year-old Colombian boy.
And he is the one on the bubble at a 223.6 average, and we haven't really seen anybody in the last half hour get close to showing they have that speed to bump him out. But we are getting in to when this track is really fast. You know, happy hour, that's going to start at 5 o'clock. That's when we could see some speeds.
Getting a round of applause over there in the part of the racetrack that he crashed in, which was turn number 1. Ooh, big hit.
Wow.
Got sideways pretty early in the corner.
Very early.
Yeah. A lot earlier than what we've seen happen to TK there.
Well, we will see, certainly, as we do near the 5 o'clock hour. The cleanup now going on for Sebastian Savadra, who backed it into the first turn safer barrier just moments ago.
Question mark is, will it cool fast enough? And this just was a wake-up call for everyone. And I think Takuma Sato, as we see here, I think he's going to be racy. I have to go with Jimmy Vasser when he says we can dial up a 224 and we can get it in. Of course, the big question mark, Tony Kanaan.
Tony Kanaan has not made the race yet. Neither has Milka Duno, driving car number 18. She is not in the starting lineup.
It's tough. The team's scrambling, but we only have so much time with this bump day format.
Who would have thought that TK would have been in this position after the 6th fastest speed in practice prior to yesterday's crash?
Not me. Not TK. I mean, we really would have, if you would have scripted things on the end of Friday saying, yeah, he's probably a top 9 guy.
Absolutely.
By the way, why this is going on, Takuma Sato stood back on the gas, and he's working a 225.5 lap right now, and he's just coming up in the background. But you see, he's getting help from the 2 cars ahead, and that was the indicator that we saw previously. We thought he was flying.
And remember, we saw Jacques Lazier out of Foyt's car. He posted a really fast time of 225, but then when he went out for his run, he only did 222.5.
So he has just done his fastest lap of the day at a 225.468 as Sato.
You know what's really important about this game and being successful is you got to have a plan, and you stick to the plan. Jimmy Vasser talked to us, earlier about what the plan was with Sato. We're going to come back out here about 4 o'clock, do a little bit of running, see what we got, and then when it gets closer to 5:30, track gets a little happier, we're going to make our run, and they're sticking right with that plan.
And Tony Kanaan is knocking on the 224 door. That was a high 223. They're making some progress. That really gets your attention. You have not got a read on it. You have to trust your team. And they will be talking him through the whole time, saying, Tony, we've done this before.
So
you know what these changes feel like.
Getting down to crunch time here, and you know what champions do when you got to do it? You rise up, you're a champion. Rise up, kick its ass, give me 4 good laps. Put her in a show, baby. We need you.
Well, the engine's fired. Cars in gear. And TK moves away. Looking for a 4-lap average in excess of 223.634. Tony Kanaan has been in 8 previous 500s, was runner-up here in 2004. He has never started worse than 6th here at the Indianapolis 500. An incredible starting performance record, but not this year. Green flag is waving, and Tony Kanaan begins his effort to get into the 2010 Indianapolis 500 field.
Okay, come on now. That looks good coming off there.
222.5 as a warm-up. He turned in at 227, so he's easing into that.
But that 220 close. 222.5 warm-up. He could keep stepping that up. That's a good warm-up lap.
I think he's going to like this.
Down below the white white line a little bit in turn number 4.
Should be 224 and change.
Here's the completion of lap 1. It's 224.382.
And he's through turn 1 again. No drama there. Had plenty of space with the car up to the wall.
He even gave himself a bit of a buffer. That was 226.8. Again, it depends on wind direction. He's got a little bit of a headwind. That's why the speeds are slower. He'll be faster today turning into turn 3. In fact, 229.8 was his turn into 3. So the ends of the racetrack have changed today.
A little bit of tailwind into it.
He is halfway through his qualification run. 5 miles down, 5 miles to go. The second lap speed, 224.240, just a little bit slower.
Huge, but this is huge if he can just maintain this.
His turn 1 speed was higher to 226. And he'll be looking for a big number into turn number 3, 229.6.
John Andretti on the far left and other members of the Andretti Autosport team and the 7-Eleven crew.
It's a little bit slower.
4, here it is.
A little bit slower, but should still be in the ballpark.
White lap, white flag lap. Third lap, 224.072. He's maintaining that 224 average. It's 222.2 at the moment. That would put him safely in the field.
Oh. Heard a little bit of possible lifting there. He's lost some speed here, but
yeah, he's still okay. I mean, he's got that 224.2 average, so he's okay.
This will be down in the 223s though, but the average should be good enough.
Let's see what it is. The checkered flag waves, and Tony Kanaan has completed the run. Fourth lap, 223.595, 224.072. At the moment, he is on the outside of row number 10. There are only 3 cars that can bump in, so he is safe.
Yes, he is.
Tony Kanaan makes the field for the 500-mile race. Jacques Lazier now on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for qualifying. In the ABC Supply Company car, Mario Romancini is now on the bubble at 223.805, and he is ready in case he gets bumped. All right, let's turn our attention toward Jacques Lazier. The first lap is 223.700. That is not fast enough.
Just pick it up a little bit each lap here.
Second lap slower, 223.624. A.J. Foyt with the stopwatch.
Remember, this is the second attempt against this car, so he'll have one more shot at it after this.
And he's losing more time.
White flag comes out for Jacques Lazier. Lap number 3. Still slower considerably, 223.036. He is not fast enough by about 0.4 of a mile an hour. Checkered flag, Foyt disappointed, 223.080. The average 223.360. And Mario Romancini has dodged the bullet, and he is not bumped, but he obviously is withdrawing his speed.
And I'll tell you why. The reason is that at this time last year, you've heard that quote from Eric Bachelard when he got bumped out of the field with Tagliani because they did not withdraw their time. And so,
well, he didn't think they had to, but it just got
said he didn't think he had to. So a year later, as a team owner, you decide, okay, that didn't work last year. I'm going to put it back in the driver's hands.
Sebastian Savadra is back in the field.
Wouldn't that be something?
Well, but these guys, you know, the one thing with them doing this, they weren't bumped out. And I wouldn't say it's a guarantee that we know somebody's really got the speed to bump them out of there. But they've already withdrawn that time now.
Yep.
That was, I still remember I can just vividly play that back when Eric Bachelard was saying that last year we were just caught out. We made a mistake.
And Eric Bachelard just gave the green flag, guys. Is this in opposition of last year? You didn't want to get caught here on the line?
Absolutely, yes. We had a pro experience, last year's, so, I mean, he showed a 2:24.4, early on. So, the track is probably a bit better now. So, hopefully we can do it, There's still a few guys that show some good speed there behind us. So, I think there's a chance we're going to get bumped. So, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
A lesson learned from last year, guys.
Romancini is on his run. The green flag waves. He needs an average more than 223.634.
Yeah, I think I would have maybe just pulled
This is
back.
risky.
I would have pulled back out in line and just waited to see maybe what Sato.
No kidding. I don't understand this at all.
Because their back wasn't against the wall yet. There wasn't a long line that they couldn't get back into it. But we know what was in Eric's mind and what he remembers from a year ago right now.
Well, this is adding up to be good speed.
Yeah, looks pretty good on the tracker down there.
224.
224.553, plenty good enough. Wow.
That's just, and Eric felt very good that he said we just did a good mid 224.
Yep.
But it takes some guts. The reason he didn't do it last year is because it is so risky to withdraw your time. He got burned, and then he says, I got to learn from that. And here he sends Mario Romancini out to do this. He's still got 2.5 laps to get it done, but he's looking pretty wise at the moment. Look how that tracker's coming up.
Yeah, even faster. Second lap, 224.857.
Okay. Looks like a great move for them to pad themselves right now. A couple laps to go.
Now he's going faster than Tony Kanaan. Remember, we raised the point of why did Tony race back into line? Those cars that were his buffer are now, at least one of them's running faster than Tony.
Yep.
Here's the white flag. One more lap to go. Lap 3, 224.601. Just a tick slower.
This is grabbing the bull by the horns here. This is putting the destiny in the hands of the driver, the hands of the team. It was gutsy, and it looks like it's going to pay.
Way gutsy.
Paying big time. Off the fourth corner. The run is complete for Mario Romancini. He bumps his way into the race. Savadra is out again. 224.553. The average 224.641. Eric Bachelard makes a great move in withdrawing him and getting him definitely more solid into the field. And now it's Milka Duno's turn to see if she can get into this year's 500 field. On the bubble is Jay Howard with an average of 223.824 miles an hour. Milka has not shown enough speed in the practice recently, but the track is cooling. Let's see if she can get the job done.
Definitely heard some really good confidence. That lap, 222.9 isn't going to be enough, but we heard a pretty confident teammate in Alex Lloyd saying, hey, I think this car's got the speed.
Oh, much better now. I mean, we knew we were in the bubble, and it's quite risky. It's been a tough day, for sure the toughest day of my career. I mean, you don't know if you will make it or not. I mean, it's my dream to be participating in this race, and I had to do something to make sure I would be in it, and the guys, they did an amazing job. The car was very good. We improved.
Now Howard is on the bubble. After that, it's Paul Tracy that is on the bubble. And then Tony Kanaan. After Jay Howard, again, 223.8 is the speed that Takuma Sato is looking for, and Paul Tracy is in the qualifying line.
And that was what I was mentioning, is if you get this kind of leapfrog thing going, all of a sudden you say, well, there's only 3 cars to get in. Well, not when you start bumping them out. People get refired, and all of a sudden you get this ratcheting of speed.
Yeah, it's just going to be crazy there, Everybody kind of patting themselves and repadding themselves. pulling out and getting back in.
Green flag waves. Takuma Sato on the way.
Turned in at 227 today in a headwind. That's a big number.
Which is a big number. And again, I come back to the confidence that we heard in Jimmy Vassar saying we got our good mid-224 setup on this that the teammates liked. So
he just turned in at 231 and a half into turn 3. This thing is flying.
Track's getting happy the last 15 minutes here.
224.373 for Takuma Sato.
Oh, so you know, you said it yesterday. We can't just judge off of ultimate high-end speeds. You got the rolling speed through the corners because those are big numbers in terms of straightaway numbers.
Well, what it tells us is he's trimmed out. That means that he isn't carrying a lot of downforce, and it's going to take a very precise job of driving to keep this thing up where he wants it. He slipped a little, but he'll be right on the edge of a 224 flat. Ooh, actually slipped a 223.9 now.
223.996.
Yeah. And like you said, that's where it's tough. Through the corners, the car's just sliding around that little bit of lunch.
Sato crashed yesterday morning in practice. Will he make the 500?
This is a better lap.
White flag. Lap 3. 224.207. Good enough to bump Jay Howard.
He picked up his turn in turn 1. He's picked it up to 228.8.
And he's off at 2. He's on the home stretch here.
See if he gets a turn 3 big number. 31.4.
Whoa, up in the gray, up in the gray. Bring it home, come on.
From Tokyo, Japan, Takuma Sato, driving for KV Racing Technology in the Lotus colors, qualifies and bumps Jay Howard. Sato's 4-lap average, 224.178. Tracy is on the bubble. We have a lot more to go here in the final 15 minutes in Indianapolis. And Indianapolis, the qualifying continues. Jay Howard out of the race right now, has just completed his first lap. It's a 223.920, just enough to bump Paul Tracy. He needs better than 223.892. It was a 223.920, and Sarah Fisher, the car owner, is praying for more speed.
And he's speeding up. That was a good end of the racetrack. He's just on the edge of getting into the 224s, which he's going to need to do to give him a bit of a buffer. It should be just, oh, he's just slipped down to a very high 223.
It's a 223.884. Slower than lap number 1, but still.
Boy, he can't let it slip.
Good enough, yeah.
He's got to somehow.
He's got to adjust whatever. If he's losing the front end, he's got to get that front end to work a little bit more. If he needs to stick the rear of that, he's got to use that jacker or the bars on there just to get a little bit more.
And he's starting to slip away from him a little bit. He's getting down to a 23.6.
Really looks like the car is sliding on those Firestones as he comes off the corner.
White flag, 3 laps down, 1 to go. Jay Howard, lap number 3 is 223.557, and that puts him below the speed needed.
They're swing.
And TK is being pulled out of the line. He was next in line, but they're pulling the car out. He could have withdrawn and gone again, but no, he's not going to do it. And Jay Howard is so close to being in the race, but not quite enough.
He had a lift. Big lift. It's over now.
And that you have a tailwind coming into turn 3, and that's where that was. That wind hits you in the middle and pushes you up the track.
Yep. You'll see that on the time. That'll drop it right off.
4th lap is 223.080, 223.610, and you can see the disappointment on Sarah Fisher's face. Her second car is not in the 500. Paul Tracy remains on the bubble, and there he is. Will he withdraw his speed?
Guys, I'm standing down here right now. They've just signed the paper. They have fired it, and you're about to hear it. He's on it, on his way out. He's withdrawn.
So who does that put back in? That puts Howard back in.
Jay
Howard's
Howard.
back in.
You bet.
Now, did you notice that the craziness in line there? I saw all of Jay Howard's guys in their yellow shirts kind of saying clearing the way, meaning he's coming down pit road, and he's going to get back in that line.
Yeah.
You bet.
So
there
Paul,
he is.
Yeah. Paul Tracy is rolling the dice here. He's withdrawing his previous speed. He is not in the race right now and must get an average of 223.610 or better to get in.
But also remember, Tracy has a good gauge. His team car with KV Racing is Sato, and Sato just went out. And what we heard from Jimmy was they're all running similar setups. So I think, again, that confidence carries over to saying, okay, Pete.
Yeah, but Paul has struggled more than Takuma in the heat. So this is risky. As it was for Eric Bachelard and Roman Cini. Makes it good, though.
Prior to that.
Very green. Oh! Did he rub it? If he didn't, he came close.
He's got his leg in it. PT.
Remember, if he touches the wall, he's not in the race because he withdrew his time.
Right.
That's right.
Green flag comes out. 10 miles for Paul Tracy to get back into the field.
Which is a totally different game that we were watching yesterday at this time, because those top 9 guys were all guaranteed, and they didn't have to withdraw their time to better their time.
Right.
He turned in at 227.1 into turn 1. Now here's where there's a tailwind. We've seen big numbers from his team car. That was 230 even. Oh, he's high again!
Oh, man.
And it got loose, and that is where the wind's hitting you. As soon as you come off of 3.
This may bite them. He might have taken himself out of the Indy 500.
223.704. That is good enough. It's good enough. 223.610 is what he needs. Oh, again, an exit off the corner, very high. 7 minutes to go in qualifying.
So if he can't maintain this, do you wave him off and say, come on in, and we try and get back in that line? I don't think
he's losing speed. He's losing speed. He's down to low 223s now.
It's not good. So again, so do you get a yellow and get him off the track and get him back in and get him, represent him, hopefully?
Good question. All right, let's take a look at the second lap. It's 223.070, and now he is below what's needed.
Jay Howard is back in this show as it sits right now. Wow.
They're going to wave it off. They're going to abort the run. He's got one more.
That's what he's saying. That's what, just what you're saying is.
But is there time? Remember, if there's an incident on the track,
oh boy, he was in it. No, Sarah, you're back in.
Safe,
you're
Sarah.
back in.
You're okay. You're back in.
For the moment, you're okay. But Paul Tracy is not. He withdrew his speed, took himself out of the race, and didn't make the run fast enough. Jay Howard is in line, and he is on the bubble.
Now does Jay Howard take himself out?
Here's Jacques Lazier that is now on the racetrack.
Okay, watch.
This was the first time that he got into turn 3 with the tailwind, and that was
close. And it was the it's the next lap after that that it really got. I mean, it steps out.
Right here, I think it is.
Just flies. That's when they talk about it. Just flies on you.
Yep. Yep. Okay, watch. This is that next lap. Watch this. There, it gets sideways.
Yep.
Doesn't just brush up, it gets sideways.
Not due to lack of trying.
Wow, can you believe Paul Tracy may not make the race?
Nope.
Jacques Lazier is going to try here. And again, Jay Howard, who's back in the race. And the speed that...
Oh, look out.
That was saving that dumping the throttle, so he'll be back in.
He didn't take the flag, so that's not an attempt.
Yeah, so
because that would have been his third
attempt. That would have been
the end of the road.
But they didn't take the green.
Yep. Look at this save, folks.
Ooh.
Look at that.
Ooh.
He didn't just save that once, did he?
I think we freed it up a bit too much. What do you think?
Nice going, Jacques. Jay Howard still in the race, and more qualifying coming up. The green flag is out for Milka Duno, and she begins her attempt, and she almost wrecked on her warm-up lap. Came very, very close to that outside wall in turn number 1. The situation is she needs a 223.8 to get into the field and to bump Jay Howard. And all indications are that she does not have adequate speed to do so. Lap number 1 is 219.429. Tony Kanaan was next in line. They're going to pull that car. He's second on the bump list at the moment.
Now Howard is in. Are they going to pull him out? It's decision time.
They just handed the paper. They are going to fire this car up, and they're going to send him out.
Oh, what a bad move, I think. You calling up saying Paul Tracy?
Here's the thing. But if he passes, Paul Tracy's next.
Yeah,
so they're putting it in their hands.
Oh, man.
So Paul Tracy's now going to be back in,
But there's not enough. There's not enough time for another qualifier after this. This is it. 1.5 minutes to go.
They're showing.
Yeah, so no, Paul Tracy would be back in right now.
Right.
That's what's happened.
Oh boy.
You know what? I don't know
Here's
if I
how
would
it
have done
breaks
that.
down, guys.
Give it to us,
Now
Jack.
it's all in Jay Howard's hands. Tracy is back in, but Jay Howard likely will be the last guy out with 1 minute and 13 seconds and counting to the gun. So it's 10 miles, do or die.
Wow.
Talk. So will Tracy make the 500 field? It all depends on what Jay Howard can do on this final qualification run of 2010.
How about some of the decisions you just needed to make right there being in that one?
Well, he saw Paul Tracy take a risk and it backfired, yet they're doing it themselves.
And that's what I say. And we saw that Tracy really struggled to get the speed, so you could have just let him go and say, because I know I'm in the field and he bumps me out. So,
wow. The goal is 223.892. That's the 4-lap average from Paul Tracy. And in less than 20 seconds, the gun will fire and the qualifications will be done. Here's the green flag. Jay Howard takes the run, and the count is down to 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's it.
But here's the clarification. When Paul Tracy pulled his time to make another run, you pull it for good. You don't get it back. Paul Tracy isn't on the bubble. Paul Tracy withdrew his time. Sebastian Savadra is the one back in. He has a crash car, and he might get in the Indy 500.
That's what it is, yeah.
So the bump speed is 223.634. Tracy is not going to make the race. Lap 1 for Jay Howard. Is it fast enough? Yes, it is. 223.812.
So Paul Tracy does not make it either way because he won't get a chance to run. He withdrew his own time. Now this is in the hands of Jay Howard. Sebastian Savadra, again, with a crash car, has a shot to get in.
And either way, when we just saw Tracy, he doesn't have a shot.
No.
The gun's gone off.
That's
He's
right.
done. He's not in the 500.
He did not make the field. Will Jay Howard is the only question, or will Sebastian Savadra be the final one in the field?
His time is slipping a little bit, though, Bob. He's losing speed.
Second lap for Howard. 223.270. Oh, no, he's below what he needs.
They pulled him out.
He was in.
They gave up a time when he was in, and it's not going to work.
Oh.
Disbelief, huh? How about that for Savadra?
Savadra
Brian Hurd Autosport.
He's probably in his rental car driving to the hotel thinking, I didn't make it. He's making a U-turn.
Got a crash race car, and he still makes the event. White flag comes out. Lap 3 for Jay Howard is 2:22.813. This will not get it done. And look at Sarah.
They had a choice.
And
I wonder if they got spooked. I wonder if they got spooked with Tracy behind, not realizing he had already withdrawn his time.
Yeah.
And that he was out.
Yeah. Well, we kind of saying, oh, well, Tracy's back in, but no.
No, he wasn't, because he gave up his time.
Yeah.
Here's the checkered flag. Qualifications are over for 2010. The final qualifier, Jay Howard, and he does not make the 500. His 4-lap average, 223.120. Sarah Fisher's second car will not be in the 33-car lineup. Go, Jack.
It's the longest walk that Paul Tracy probably has had to make in quite some time.
I mean, I just got to thank the KV team. The car was quick all week when it was cold. It was quick this morning when it was cold, and as soon as the track temperature came up, we just couldn't get the handle on it. And
Paul, take me through the thought process in withdrawing the car.
I was just sitting in the car, and they made the decision, we're not going to sit on the bubble, we're going to go out and run quicker in the car in this temperature. We couldn't get it done, so hats off to TK and the guys that got it in the show. When we needed the car to run in the heat, it wouldn't run. It wasn't for a lack of trying. We threw a bunch of changes at it. The car was just sliding all over the place, and that's life.
Now you go out there, the car's been withdrawn, it's all on your shoulders, and you had multiple moments in the cockpit.
Yeah, no, I was hanging on. And when you're sliding like that, you're just scrubbing speed off. But it's cuts deep. This is all the preparation that I did to get ready for this. It's just it's a hard blow. Be a long drive home in the motorhome, that's for sure.
All right, let's go to Lindy Thaxton.
Sarah Fisher, nice enough to spend a few moments with us. We can see with you right now just the emotion that the Indy 500 can bring, but you got to try, right?
I honestly can't believe this is happening. I mean, Jay kicked the 67 car all around this racetrack all month long, so I don't know. Clearly there's an issue there. It's not from a lack of trying. Service Central's been back in this program 110%, and I'm sure they're going to be behind it, but it's pretty detrimental to our year. It's detrimental to our sponsors. It's detrimental, to our budget. Yeah, I don't know what we're going to do now. We're going to have to plan and, come up with a strategy to get through the season.
Sarah, we appreciate your time.
Thank you.
No question, tears from Sarah Fisher there as her second car did not make the race, but the hugs are for Tony Kanaan, who did make the 500 but will start in 32nd position in the middle of the final row. Back with more in just a moment. The 11th row, Takuma Sato, Tony Kanaan, and Sebastian Savadra. And yes, Tony Kanaan is in this year's field, but what an effort he put up. We have just qualified the 5th fastest field in Indianapolis history. The average speed 224.974, and a member of the field is Tony Kanaan. Robbie.
8 years at the Indianapolis 500. He's never qualified outside the 6th position. I'm sure you're more than happy to give up that streak today after all you've been through.
Yeah, it was a tough day, Rob. I think I've never had so much stress in my life, and I think I've been through a lot of things, but things turned around so quick here. We had a car to be in the top 9, and we were a bit too greedy yesterday, and we ended up crashing. And then this morning, we don't know what happened. I mean, it was just a very, very weird run. I did my installation lap and just I went out of the pits, and that's what happened right there. I mean, looks like the car was touching a bit, but we don't know. We have no idea. Couldn't believe. I thought I was having a dream about yesterday's crash, and then since then, the boys did a great job. I mean, I got to thank the whole team, the whole Andretti Autosport, but especially the 37 guys, which were my guys last year. Ryan Hunter-Reay to give me his gearbox. He didn't run all day today, so for me to be able to do this. And you know, everybody wonders why I do so much for this team. And for this, I think I've never seen so many guys in so many different colors working in my car. I have to say, I've never thought of starting at 32nd place in the Indianapolis 500. It feels better than be on the pole. This feels better than the 2005 pole that I had. I mean, I don't get very emotional, Rob, in my life. And, you know, I think I had to learn in a hard way. And I don't cry very often. And I can't say that today, every time I came out, which was 5 times, I had tears in my eyes just to see the whole people. And obviously, I lost my composure after qualifying. I did a Helio style, my countrymen, and they made me cry.
He has taken the pole here before, guys. He has never won, but now that he's in the field at 33, he has his chance next weekend. Watch out.
Listen to this. Here is.
What are you going to do? What are we going to do? Withdrawing and going. Tiffany, you got it? Yep. Start it up. Let's go.
That was a decision that turned out to be wrong. They withdrew the speed, and he couldn't get himself back into the 500-mile race. We'll be back in just a moment. Stay with us. "33 have made it, 4 did not. And the 4 who failed to qualify: Paul Tracy, Jacques Lazier, Jay Howard, and Milka Duno.
Faster and faster.